All right, I'm just gonna say it, I'm going bald. So when I came across the iRESTORE Elite, a high-tech, non-invasive helmet that claims to support hair growth using red light therapy, I figured it was time to see if science could actually help turn things around for me. In this video, I'm putting the iRESTORE Elite to the test. I'll show you how it works, what using iRESTORE actually feels like day to day, and whether this kind of hair loss treatment is really worth the price. Before we go any further in this iRESTORE Elite review, if you're dealing with thinning hair and thinking about trying this device yourself, make sure to check out the link in the description. You can use my deal to get the best available price on the iRESTORE cap, plus a 12-month money-back guarantee, and several free gifts included as part of their full hair growth treatment system. With that out of the way, let me tell you why I even wanted to review iRESTORE in the first place. I've been looking for a non-invasive option for my hair loss for a while now because honestly, I'm not that excited about taking pills long-term, and I'm also not a huge fan of putting topical stuff on my scalp every day and hoping my skin likes it. After digging into laser and red light therapy, I kept seeing iRESTORE Elite come up as one of the more premium at-home systems in this category, so I decided to try it for myself. And once I actually got my hands on it, I started to understand why it's positioned that way. From the second I took it out of the box, it didn't feel like some gimmicky plastic gadget. It actually felt like a serious piece of hardware. The finish is clean, the materials feel solid, and the whole thing looks much more polished than I expected from a hair growth device. And at just 1.2 pounds, it's also lighter than it looks, which matters way more than you'd think when putting something on your head every day. Inside the box, you get the iRESTORE Elite helmet itself, a controller with a timer display, a universal power adapter, the user manual, a quick start guide, and a protective carry case. The standard version is wired. However, if you want more freedom to move around, there's also a wireless battery pack upgrade. One of the main reasons that I picked this one over other iRESTORE models is the setup of diodes. iRESTORE says the Elite uses 500 total diodes. That's 300 lasers and 200 LEDs, along with triple red light wavelengths, 625, 655, and 680 nanometers. On paper, that puts it at the high end of the consumer category, and the helmet offers a broad scalp coverage. I'm not going to pretend diode count is the only thing that matters, but if you're comparing premium laser helmets, this is one of the specs that makes the Elite stand out immediately. Design-wise, there are a few things that I liked right away. First, it has ventilation gaps between the light clusters, so it doesn't feel too hot during a session. Second, you can easily swap a cushion pad to fit your head size, so wearing it doesn't feel like balancing a shell on your head. And third, there's a built-in safety sensor, so if you lift the helmet off during use, the light shuts off automatically instead of just blasting upward into the open air or your eyes, making you temporarily blind. It's a small design detail, but for a product using Class 3R lasers, it's the kind of feature that you'll want in there. And since this is a premium product, iRESTORE also includes a 3-year warranty and a 12-month money-back guarantee if you don't see results after consistent use. So overall, my first impressions were strong. Premium build, simple setup, and a design that feels made for actual daily use. And that brings us to the more important question. What do all these specs actually mean? How is this thing supposed to help with hair regrowth in the first place? The core idea behind red light therapy hair regrowth devices like this is pretty simple. The iRESTORE Elite uses low-level light therapy to send red light into the scalp with the goal of stimulating weakened hair follicles over time. According to the official specs, it combines triple wavelengths, 625, 655, and 680 nanometers, with 500 total diodes and 2,500 milliwatts of total power. In simple terms, the idea is that different wavelengths and the mix of lasers and LEDs are meant to balance more targeted simulation with broader scalp coverage, so the treatment reaches more of the areas where thinning is starting. And that's also where the premium argument starts to make more sense. Across iRESTORE's own slate of product offerings, we see a range. The Essential has 120 diodes, while the Professional has 282 lights. The Elite jumps all the way up to 500, which is a huge jump in total light sources. To compare with other big names, the high-end Theradome Pro LH80 is a laser-only system with 80 lasers, while Capitalist currently sells top-end caps in the low 300 range, like the Capitalist Spectrum with 312 laser diodes. So, purely in terms of total diode count and wavelength, iRESTORE Elite does sit at the very top end of the at-home category. That said, diode count alone definitely isn't the whole story, and brand-to-brand comparisons get messy fast because companies use different wavelengths, beam designs, treatment schedules, and form factors. As for the science, the broader low-level light therapy category does have some legitimate support behind it for pattern hair loss, especially with consistent use over several months. Reviews and randomized sham-controlled trials have reported improvements in hair counts in men and women with androgenic alopecia. Researchers think the mechanism may involve helping hair follicles shift into and stay longer in the active growth phase. But this is the key thing: it works best on thinning or weakened follicles and not areas that are already fully slick bald. And iRESTORE's own listed use cases are limited to specific stages of male and female pattern hair loss, and not every kind of hair loss. And one more important reality check: consistency matters more than any flashy spec. iRESTORE's current recommendation for the Elite is 12 minutes every day, and the company says visible changes can take months. The idea behind red light and laser therapy suggests that the first few months may show little visible change, with more noticeable thickening and regrowth expected later with continued use. So keep in mind, this takes patience. So after looking at the tech, the next question is probably the most important one in real life. Do you think that you can and will actually keep using this thing every day? And honestly, that's where red light therapy devices for hair growth either make sense or completely fall apart. Because 1 month is definitely not enough time to judge real regrowth, but it is enough time to judge usability, comfort, and whether this is the kind of routine that you can realistically stick with. And in my case, because my thinning is already pretty visible, even small changes in shedding or scalp appearance are easier for me to notice. The good news is the setup is really simple. You plug in the adapter, connect the controller, put the helmet on, and start the session. That's it. The Elite's current recommended treatment time is 12 minutes daily, which is short enough that it doesn't feel like a huge commitment hanging over your head. In terms of comfort, I was actually pretty surprised. The helmet is lightweight, and the inside has those soft, swappable foam pads so it doesn't dig into your head the way a bulky device easily could. The vented design also helps because it keeps the helmet from feeling too stuffy or overly hot during a session. So even though you are wearing a literal light helmet, it doesn't feel nearly as awkward as it sounds. The travel case also makes it easy to throw into a bag if you're away for a few days and don't want to break the routine. Now, the cordless version is where it gets even more convenient. iRESTORE sells the wireless upgrade separately, which gives you a lot more freedom to move around instead of staying tethered to a wall. The battery pack is rated at 4,000 milliampere or 20 watt hours, and while iRESTORE emphasizes the mobility on its product page, I'll be careful about making any promises on battery life. In my experience, a full charge was about enough for 2 or 3 sessions, but that's just a practical observation, not an official claim. As for results, after a few weeks, nothing dramatic, which is exactly what I expected. These devices are built around consistency over months and not overnight transformation. But what I can say after a month is that the routine has been easy to maintain, and that matters a lot more than people think. If a treatment is annoying or uncomfortable or too time-consuming, you stop using it. This one, at least for me, has been simple enough to keep in my rotation. And I also noticed something that may have been a bit of shedding. Not huge, but enough that it stood out to me. But spoiler alert, this is absolutely normal, since during the first few months, the weak hair might shed. Think of it like the first phase of a magnificent phoenix rising from the ashes, and yes, I just compared my hair to a phoenix. Like I said, I've been wearing this thing daily for about a month at this point, taking pics to track my progress, and I gotta be honest, although I really want to believe that I'm seeing some regrowth, I'm not sure how much I can attribute to lighting or subtle differences in hair length when the pics were taken. I'm not really sure I'm seeing significant shedding yet either. Maybe I'm one of those breeds that doesn't shed. Dog joke. Anyway, I like what I'm seeing, but I feel like I'm definitely gonna need to keep wearing this thing a while longer before the results are undeniable. But once again, from a usability point of view, I get the appeal. Short sessions, easy setup, solid comfort, and a routine that feels manageable enough to actually follow through on. Of course, the iRESTORE Elite isn't perfect, and there are a few limitations that you should keep in mind before buying. First, the price itself. The Elite is definitely positioned as a premium device. But if you compare that with the long-term cost of supplements, topical treatments, or clinical visits, a one-time investment like this can make sense for some people, especially since iRESTORE currently offers a 12-month money-back guarantee. The more important limitation, though, is who this device is actually for. Treatments like the iRESTORE Elite are designed for hair that's thinning. In other words, follicles that are still active but getting weaker over time. If an area is already fully bald, this kind of light-based treatment is much less likely to help because there may not be enough functioning follicles left to stimulate. So Really, this makes the most sense for people who are catching their hair loss earlier, while there's still something to work with. And that's also why results vary so much from person to person. It depends a lot on your stage of hair loss, your consistency, and how your scalp responds over time. If you want to check the current price or try it yourself, you can use our special deal through the link in the description or the QR code that you see on screen. So is the iRESTORE Elite the best non-invasive option out there right now? From what I've seen so far, it definitely has a lot going for it. And if you're serious about working on hair regrowth, it's definitely a device worth considering. And if you want to see more breakdowns like this, check out the other tech reviews here on the Cybernews channel. I'll see you in the next one.